Hi, I'm Ron Suchiu, the Wizard of Art. We're talking about the stories here in the House of the Rising Sun series. There's a series of videos here. I've got one describing the house, and then several of the stories. I'm kind of like the Forrest Gump of the industry, where I seem to run across all kinds of weird stories because I do a painting, which doesn't make much sense, but you will see why. Anyway, a few years back after I did the painting, Eric Burdon invited me to his 60th birthday party, which was, and believe it or not, it was in the Aaaah Theater, the old, very famous historic Aaaah Theater in Los Angeles. And accommodations were prepared for us, or pre-booked for us, for the Farmer's Daughter Hotel. And it was really a lot of fun. Gary Bergmoser and I, Bergie is my traveling buddy, and we do a lot of these travels together. I really don't like to travel by myself, and Gary also knows that when he comes with me, we get behind roped off areas and guarded areas that most people can't, which is a lot of fun. So anyway, I go to Eric Burdon's birthday party. We went down there, we flew in. Gary had rented a Camaro convertible at the time, a red Camaro convertible. And you know, it was kind of nice because in LA, I usually, when I go down there, I'd like to rent a convertible too. So anyway, we get in the car, we're heading over to, we're going to book into the hotel room before we get ready for the party that night. So as we're going over there, this Camaro, I've got very large feet, I've got size 12 or more, and when I'm sitting in the passenger side of this car, I can't get my feet to fit underneath the dashboard because the silly car literally had this great big square bump underneath the dashboard, which I think is probably some part of the exhaust system or whatever, or transmission or whatever. Anyway, I couldn't get my feet under there. It was very, very uncomfortable. But it was only a few minutes to go over to the Farmer's Daughter Hotel. And as we pulled up, we were shocked because we come up to this hotel. It was quite a nice hotel, but the parking lot was packed with people. There was like, you know, at least 100 people. They're all out there having their beer, and they're kind of having a social party in the parking lot. And I guess this happens quite often when you get a whole whack of celebrities and, you know, people who come across these musicians and that, who come across each other many times. So anyway, that party was to continue for the whole weekend. There's the party event was going to happen for Friday and Saturday, and from the moment we pulled in, there was people out in that parking lot. It didn't matter if it was 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock or whatever. You know, you went to sleep that night with people in the parking lot having a party, and you woke up in the morning and they were still having their party. So anyway, in the group there was, you know, Spencer Davis, there was Canned Heat. The members of Canned Heat were all hanging around there, and one that I found really, really, you know, neat was Leon Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix's younger brother was hanging out at the hotel, so we got a chance to meet him and kind of chitter chatter with him, and it was fun. And Gary and I, we went to the party that night, which I'll explain a bit more about further in this story. But the next day after the party, we were heading down to Long Beach, and we're going to go down there to visit a very, very good friend of Gary's. We'll call him Joe because I don't know, don't have permission to use his name, so I'm not going to, you know, screw that up. But anyway, Joe is one of Gary's oldest and dearest friends. And if you hear me call Bergie, that's Gary Bergmoser, so Bergie is Bergie to me. Anyway, we get down there, and I don't like to complain, but honestly, I mean, that dumb car, I had my knees up to my chest trying to sit in that car for, you know, over an hour drive, and it just wasn't fun. So anyway, we get down to Joe's place. We had a wonderful chat. He had a new house. The last time I've been there, they were renting a different house. He was building this new home. Gorgeous home up on the side of the hill, indoor pool, you know, 30-foot glass wall, It was just beautiful. We had this nice time, and we were just getting ready to go back to the hotel because, you know, we're going to go back for the second night of the party, right? Anyway, we walk out to the driveway, and as we did, Joe said, hey, hold on for a second, guys. And he pulled kind of a little remote, just that looked kind of like this thing here for the camera. And he pulled a little remote out of his pocket, and he clicked it, and it started opening his garage door. And as the door opened, it has elevators. So he's got 4 cars in this 2-car garage, but the bottom row was a beautiful, brand new, and a gorgeous, gorgeous, bright yellow Porsche with a big whale tail on it. And he used it for racing. He did kind of amateur racing with his Porsches. And then on the right-hand side of the garage was a Testarossa, and it was just the most pristine Testarossa, unbelievable condition. And Joe looked over at me and he says, hey Ron, what's your favorite color? And I thought he was joking. I looked over, I said, red. I mean, of course, red, because the Ferrari was red. And he pulled a set of keys out of his pocket and he threw them over to Gary. He says, there you go. He says, you're not driving my famous artist friend around in that piece of junk. And he didn't call it a piece of junk. It was a little bit more extreme than that. So he says, I'll drive the junk around. So anyway, he gave us his Testarossa for the rest of the weekend. So anyway, we head back down, and I was kind of laughing because it had one of those transponders in it, and we were on the highway, the coastal highway of California, and they have a place where the toll booths are where you can actually go through. They're a bit wider, but they have a transponder lane. And Gary must have went through there well over 100 miles an hour. He just handed this transponder to me and said, hold it up for a second. And I heard a beep about a second or two after we went through. So we went all the way back to the party. And when we left that morning, we were hanging out with Leon Hendrix. And Leon asked us if, when we were leaving in the Camaro, he asked, are we not going to see you guys again? I said, yeah, we'll be back later. So anyway, here we are. And Hendrix, by chance, was just walking in front of us when we left. We pull back into the Farmer's Daughter Hotel, and who's walking across the parking lot, the same, you know, in the same spot? Leon Hendrix. And as we pulled in, he was almost like a state trooper. He saw us come in this Testarossa, and he waved us down. He stood right in front of the car and waved us down. He come walking around the side to the driver's side where Gary was standing there, or sitting there. He says, what the hell is this all about? You know, what happened here? And Gary says, well, it's no big story. He said, you know, the Camaro that we had this morning, Ron's got these big dumb feet, and they wouldn't fit underneath the dashboard of the Camaro. So we took it back to the rental place, and the guy just upgraded us. So, you know, I looked at it, and Leon, just his eyes were the size of saucers. He said, where the hell is this place? I got to go. I'm there. So anyway, just a funny little story. We had Leon go on for a bit. I don't even know if we ever corrected that story for him, but so be it. Anyway, Ron Suchiu, stay tuned. There's other stories that are going to happen here about when I met somebody very, 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 very special at Eric Burdon's birthday party, but I didn't know I was meeting the man. Anyway, that's a bit of a teaser for you. Ron Suchiu, take care. Enjoy the next video.
Easy, Skippy.